Good morning, everybody. How are you today? I hope you're well. Oh, Scorpio! Again. Okay, it's the 1st of June today. Normally, on the 1st of the month, I'd take you on a tour of the garden and see where things are at. However, just wiping my glistening parts away, I decided what I'll do is I'm going to do the tour in about a week, and then it'll be exactly a month since the May tour, so you can see the sort of contrast over the course of a month. I'll get back on track as we go into July for doing the tours on the 1st of the month, 1st or 2nd usually. So today it's 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago that gorgeous compost delivery came. And it was the thing that, well, you know it by now, it's the thing that gave me a spur to think maybe, just maybe, I could get the garden done. What I did initially, obviously, the majority of the last 2 weeks has been spent doing bed prep, just trying to get my concrete broken down. And the way I ordered the beds that I did, the first few beds that I got broken up and got prepped were the ones that I wanted to do some direct sowing in, because I really wanted and needed to get things underway, so I did. And then the remaining beds, they were all about having the beds ready to plant my seed starts in that I started at home. In some cases, let's think now, right back to the beginning of March, so March, April, May. They've had 3 months, some of them. They're gagging to go in the ground, but yay! It'll almost be like an instant garden. So the point is, yes, I'm at that point. The beds are dug, all but the one under the rose bush, because that's still got compost and bits sitting on top of it. I'll get that cleared this week, hopefully. And I suddenly thought, I need to get the garlic out, so in a way that's one more bed to dig, because it's going to be a bit of a devil. Oh, see you rusting. It's going to be a bit of a devil because it has baked hard. So I'm not going to give you a tour now. I'm going to give you a quick long shot of the garden before we get planting. Most of the structures are up now. I've got 2 more sets of bean arches, 2 sets of 3, as in 3 poles one side of the path, 3 the other, meeting. So that's 1 set, and then another set. The reason they haven't gone up yet is because 1 set goes into the garlic bed, can't get a pole in there at the moment, and 1 set is going into the ex-celery bed under the rose bush, can't get a pole in there either. But that's fine, that'll happen this week. Essentially, those are little-ish jobs. Not digging up the garlic, but the littleish jobs I can do in a few days' time. Now, with planting today, oh my goodness, it's going to be an absolute plant-a-thon. This may end up being in 2-3 parts, I don't know. I'll try not to waffle too much today, but I will try to explain what I'm doing and why I'm doing it as I'm doing it, so that anyone, especially our newbie friends who I feel like I've neglected in the last few weeks, they'll understand the rationale for doing things. Something I'm going to say just quickly in here before we do go out. Folk have asked and may wonder, why didn't I just put all the compost on top of the concrete beds and plant into that? You know, no-dig gardening in theory. I didn't have enough compost. All the compost I've got, if I spread it across all the different beds, I wouldn't even get a centimetre of compost across the top of all of them. That is not enough to plant a tomato into. So what I've done, where I've seeded, so the fennel, chard, beetroot, lettucey things, spinachy things, lentils, that sort of thing, yes, I've dug the beds over as best I can, and then I've put that sort of centimetre layer of the compost on top to sow them into, because they're only little seeds, they can just sit in a centimetre of compost. That's great. for the rest of the garden. So you saw the other day I was planting my beans, sowing my beans. They haven't gone into any compost. One of my neighbours. They didn't go into any compost, they went into the soil. If at the end of all of this planting I have any compost left over, I'll put it between the plants to act as a mulch, and of course the worms will help to take it down eventually, so it will get incorporated into my soil. So today, I feel like I need to giddy up. I don't know if I'm going to get it all done today, to be honest. But the plan is to plant cucumbers, peppers, tomatoes, climbing squash at least, and I may do some of the horizontal, the sort of ground sprawling squash too. For all the squash, they will get some compost. I'll explain that when we do it. I'm going to start with the cucumbers and peppers. They are going into soil, just soil, and then I'll use the compost afterwards to mulch between them all. Honestly, I did not think this day was going to come. Yeah, literally just a couple of weeks ago when I was saying, well, it's more than 2 weeks ago now, isn't it? 'Cause it's 2 weeks since the compost, maybe 3 weeks ago I think it was, when I did the May tour. And I was talking about leaving some of the beds covered, not doing the cathedral bed, not doing my bean arches. I would have missed them so much, and that's helped to drive me to get them done. And the other thing I spoke about myself, and a load of you suggested it too, is where I had those beds covered, especially say for the squash, I could just plant through the cardboard, plant straight into the ground, great. I experimented with that about 4 or 5 days ago on a couple of the beds that I hadn't prepared at all, and let's just say I could barely get my fork in. Never mind making a nice little hole for a plant to sit in. When I could get my fork in, I wasn't levering up sort of loose soil to move away to pop the plant in. As I put my fork in, it was kind of hoiking up great slabs, sort of 8-inch deep, maybe a foot in circumference slabs. No good. So that's why I got on and I just dug. I dug. I dug it. Fab. Okay, there's tons of people around today, as there are every day these days. I want my privacy back. No, it's great. It's great seeing folk. Everyone's really made the most of the lockdown, the weather, etc, etc. But it just means I'm being a little bit careful with filming in terms of I don't want to accidentally record people's private conversations, that sort of thing. So we may be a bit stoppy-starty. That doesn't matter. We'll get it done. But never mind all that. On y va. Let's go and do some planting. Oh, I forgot to say. This is quite important. It's really hot and sunny again. Oh my goodness, it's relentless. Actually, I was just hearing from someone that apparently we've just had our driest May in 170 years or something. Crazy. That's not what I meant to say. This is not ideal weather for transplanting anything, especially not my little delicate vegetable babies. Ideally, I'd rather do it on a much cooler day, an overcast day, maybe sort of late in the afternoon, out of the glare of the sun at its highest point during the day. That would be ideal. However, we're not going to get that for quite some time yet. We have been forecast some cooler weather in a couple of weeks, but these things are in tiny pots. They need to go into the ground. So into the ground they will go, and I'll just make sure as I plant everything now, everything will get a water, and then tonight when I finish doing everything else today, I'll go around, I'll give everything a water again. Things are going to probably look a little bit wilty for a day or two from the shock. They'll get over it. Well, going on previous year's experience, they will get over it. Now, let's go and do some planting. Right, well, I'm just outside my shed and I want to show you something just before we go to the garden. My lovely neighbour here, Svet, she's had to give up her plot, for various reasons. I'm really sad to see her go. Hopefully I'll still see her outside of the plot. So, because the council aren't sending us any new names of any new people to take over plots, we're just going to try and maintain these left plots as best we can. So we started by cutting the grass, and I thought, what a great place to put my deck chair. Oh, it's fab. Yes, I've taken to enjoying half an hour each afternoon to just sit here and do nothing and just let my gaze wander through the grasses and the little bits and bobs that have come up. Fab! Right, enough of that. Let's go check out the garden. It's so windy again today. This wind has not helped the ground. The dryness is one thing, but of course, and the heat and the sun, but of course the wind is just making it even worse. So, here we have it. A garden ready to go. I'm not going to give you a proper tour, but I'm just going to very quickly show you. You can see now my bean arches are up, my teepees are up, beds are seeded. I'll tell you about that properly in the tour. But for today, we're coming over here. This is what we're going to concentrate on. This bed, 4 rows of tomatoes to go in. Peppers are just sitting there at the minute. Started getting the cucumbers in. I started without you just because one of my neighbours was strimming and it was really loud. So I thought, well, I'll get on my cuke frame. I'll explain that as we get planting. Behind there's various squash. Some are for horizontal, some are for vertical. More peppers. There's peppers right up there to go out today as well. Right, without further ado, let's get on. Hurrah for planting. Okay, so with the cucumbers, over the years, I've changed the way I do them a little bit. I think I first grew cukes about 5 years ago, but I just grew them on the ground, spreading around like I would with my winter squash. And they got quite splashy muddy, so I thought the next year I'd give them a little frame. It was not at such an acute angle, it was more like 45 degrees. But I thought, well, why don't I do a really steep angle, because it's much less of a footprint in the garden, and therefore I can plant something else in that same bed. They will climb really quite happily. They put out beautiful little tendrils and cling on. However, today when I'm planting, which one will be best to show you? This one. I will initially put a bit of string there to give it a bit of stability, because we are so windy at the moment. Super duper windy. And they are a little bit like all the squash family. Their stems are their weak point. So, they'll get a little bit of tying in, just help them on their way, and eventually they'll find their little ladder and climb up to heaven and give me lots of lovely fruit. So, beautiful roots on that. Look at that. Let's pop that there. So, on level with the soil, and then right next to it, its own part, I'm putting in the soil next to it, and I'll use that for watering. Oh no, the strimmer. The he's doing communal parts of the pot, the site, should I say, so I shouldn't complain. It's just that it's a horrible noise, isn't it? Yeah, I put the pot next to the plant as a watering hole, so I put my water into the pot, not on the plant. Same with all the squash that I plant. They'll all get a similar treatment because they don't like their stems getting wet. They're quite fussy. So, let me just get this one tied before the wind starts flapping around. What I would normally do is get them all planted, because while I'm in the gloves, and then do all the tying afterwards when I've got my gloves off. But I'll do this one straight away, show you what I'm doing. So I tie the string to the frame, not the plant, so I can get a good, nice, secure anchor for it, good and tight, and then fairly loosely around the plant itself. I don't want it too tight, I don't want to restrict the growth, I don't want to strangle it, but I do want it to just help that little plant stay in roughly the right place against the frame. In terms of bed preparation, it's so annoying, isn't it? We might have to stop again. Look, I'll just say very quickly, in terms of bed preparation, it's had chicken manure added, cucumbers, squash, that whole family, they're really greedy for two things, feed and water. So I'll keep them well watered via the little pots. In terms of feed, they've had that chicken manure in the ground to start them off, and then throughout the summer I will feed them with my urine fertiliser. You can see behind the frame I've put in any cardboard that wasn't eaten by the worms this winter. I'm covering any bare bits of soil. Weed suppressant, keeps a bit of the moisture in, etc, etc. You know, if it starts to rot down, great, fine. Right, I'll tell you what, I'm going to get the last of these coops in, and hopefully by the time I've done that the strimming will stop and we can start again. So much better on the floor than on the stool. You'd think the stool would be really, well, the stool is comfy for some things, but not when I'm right down onto the soil. Okay, what I forgot to mention about the cucumbers is that they are they're a variety called vert long maraîcher. In English, that's long green maraîcher. I don't know how easy it is to get hold of seeds. Someone was asking me much earlier in the season when I was just getting these underway. I believe that they managed to find some under the French name, so it's vert, V-E-R-T, long, L-O-N-G. That's enough to put in maraîcher. These seeds are my own saved seeds. I've been saving seeds since that very first lot that I put in, which is, I think it was about 5 years ago. They come good for me every year. This year, 100% germination. I've never had an issue with them. Touch wood. Hope I haven't jinxed myself, but yeah, never had an issue. Produce beautifully. They are specifically an outdoor cucumber, which means if you're used to greenhouse cucumbers, the difference you will notice is that they do have a considerably thicker skin. Some people skin them before eating them. I like the skin. I like that bit of extra crunch. So yes, if you've never tried growing cucumbers outdoors before, or cucumbers full stop, have a go with vert long maraîcher. They give a fantastic crop every year. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 10. Got 14 plants in total, and that will give me a lot of cucumbers. But you know what? It's just a few short weeks each year. So yeah, I'll eat a cucumber every day and I'll love it. I'll relish it. And, you know, by the end of cucumber season, I'll be sick of them. And then literally 3 or 4 days after I've had the last one, I'll wish they were still growing. So, yeah, make hay while the sun shines with your cucumbers, as it were. Okay, on to the peppers. So I'm growing 3, so again you can see, oh, they're perfectly ready to go in. They've got a really nice little root system. With all of these plants I'm planting out today, seedlings, they're a bit beyond seedlings really, aren't they? Plantlets. They've all been in their pots, their little growing pots, quite a while, so they should all have a really, really good root system. And what that means is within a matter of days, those roots should start to grow into and explore into the soil below, where we do have moisture. We have moisture about 6 inches down. So they will get there. However, just for the next few days, I'm going to be really careful about giving them all a drop of water, just to ease them into their new outdoor life. Well, they've been outdoors actually for a week or so now, so they're thoroughly acclimatised. It's more that thing of a little bit of transplant shock, but also just giving their roots time to kind of realise that there's more soil to go exploring. Yay! So, yes, I'm growing 3 types of peppers this year. These are all sweet peppers. I don't grow I don't grow chili peppers. Do any of you grow chili peppers? Does anybody grow chili peppers? Concentrate, Vivi. I don't grow chili peppers. I'm not a huge fan of heat. Well, it's not that I'm not a huge fan of heat. I really, really don't like it. There are spices that I love the flavour of them. I love that sense of warmth I get from them, but I do not like heat. I don't like it when my tongue falls off. So they're all sweet peppers. I grow all of them outside, obviously, because I don't have a greenhouse. So this variety, which I've been growing now for, I think 4 years or so, is called Orange Bell. And it does what it says on the tin. It's a bell pepper, a sweet bell pepper, and it turns orange eventually. They do take a little bit longer outdoors to come to fruition, so I probably won't expect to harvest until September. Quite often what happens is we get into October and they're all coming at once, and then we're suddenly getting a bit cold, so I just have the lot out, chop them up, freeze them. They freeze really well. And then throughout the winter and spring, I just grab a handful of the chopped frozen ones to add to soups, stews, curries, whatever it is I'm making and using them in. Gorgeous. They've all got a tiny little stick by way of a bit of support that I'll tie them into. Again, I just don't want them being rocked around in this very early stage before they've had a chance to put more roots into the soil and therefore anchor themselves into the soil, as opposed to just still being in that bit of compost that they've been growing in. But they'll be fine. So what I'll do, once they're all in, give everything a really good soak. Like I say, it will take a few days for their roots to find their way into the soil. That's Gary and Pip chatting away. Yeah, it will take a few days for their roots to find their way into the soil. So until then, they're going to get watering from me. Plus the fact is we're not having any rain, we're bone dry. Once I've done the watering now, that's when I'm going to get some compost and use the compost all around as a mulch. And then come the autumn, when all the plants come out, that compost I can add to it from my own compost bins or whatever, get it all covered in cardboard, tucked up for the winter, and hopefully end up with some beds next year which are not compact and concrete. Gosh, there is a lot of planting to do today, so I need to hush up and get a wriggle on. I don't want to be in too much of a hurry about it though, because frankly this is such a pleasure, and you know, this is what the last 2 weeks have been leading up to, of me getting time to, hang on, I'm going to scoot. Yes, I'm like a dog with worms. What I was trying to say is, yeah, this is what the last 2 weeks has all been about. On the days when it's just been, harder than hard, of just remembering all the time, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through this misery to have a garden to play in? And like I say, although this is a lot of planting to get done, it's going to be a lot of work today, this doesn't feel like work. This feels like, yeah, it's play. Wunderbar. Well, I'll tell you what, let me get the rest of this lot done, watered, mulched. We'll reconvene in this bed, or the one over, and I think it'll be time to make a start on the tomatoes. Or it might be time to have lunch. I've lost track of time again. One of those days I'm having lots of sort of chatting, catching up moments. No hurries, no worries. Don't half hot, Mum. Don't forget, as we're taking care in the garden to water all our precious little plants, they're so precious still at this stage. You know, in another month or so, they'll be strong enough to mostly manage on their own, but at this stage we're taking a lot of care to water them. By the same token, please take care to water yourselves. I'm sure you probably all realise that this is the same bottle over and over again. I don't buy bottled water, it's from my tap. Right, now, rather stupidly, a few seconds ago, I said, time to start on the tomatoes. I've forgotten, I've got a load more peppers still to plant. That was just the orange bell. Now it's time to move on to, I've left them over here, some of them, the lovely du long de londe. You will sometimes hear them called quite simply long de londe. They're a beautiful pepper from France, but right down near the border with Spain. So loads of recipes from that area will include this most beautiful of peppers. Again, it's a sweet pepper, no heat. It's got taste, it's just not that it's heat. And I love them because they're so long and skinny and slightly wrinkly, and they go the most deep, glossy red you can imagine. Absolutely gorgeous. So I actually think they work beautifully in pots. I did them in pots last year purely because I had nowhere in the garden. And you know what? And I've done them in the trough outside my shed before. But I think they're such an attractive plant as they're growing. The foliage is a beautiful, deep glossy green. They look very pale at the moment. They need to get in. So yeah, if you've got a bit of a gap in one of your pots, plonk in a couple of du long de londe. So I'm going to put them in the hugel cultures, both of these two, and this grow bag that's had the elephant garlic in all winter. So I'm about to dig it up. Now I've never grown. Oh, probably don't need to dig. I can probably just. Do you know what? Let's bring you in a bit closer so you can see what I'm seeing. Right. Well, I hope you can see. It's a little bit tricky to find anywhere to put you. So, will I need my trowel in here? Come on, bulb, where are you? Oh, I think that's it. Roots. Now, because I've never... Corn, Bennett, come on, out you come. What plant? I've never grown them before, so... No idea what to expect. But I have looked up a little bit online about what to do with them. And lots of folks suggest a roast elephant garlic soup. So, there it is. Well, I've got to say, it's not the whopper I was expecting. That's not much bigger than the original clove I put in, but oh my goodness, it smells gorgeous. So you can grow these as a perennial, as I understand. However, I don't really have space to have them as a perennial. It's something I can think about. Can I make a little space somewhere? So for now, they're going to come out. I'm going to cook them and eat them, enjoy them. But in the meantime, let's get this little planter topped up with a bit of fresh compost and get planting these beautiful peppers. So I've got my chotchers coming up at the back. I'm going to go up the fence. So I think I can probably be a bit greedy and pop 3 in here. Right on the edge, I've got this old broken fork here just to keep the St John's wort held back a bit. Don't you see that? A little little self-seeded sweet pea from last year, using the St John's wort as a climbing frame. Gorgeous. And then in here, I think 1. Can we squeeze 4? I think so. Now, I was just thinking, because I've got 1 of these left over, plus I've got the full orange bell peppers. I nipped out the growing tip weeks and weeks and weeks ago to try to get it to bifurcate. I've got no room in that row. Right, talk and work, Vivi, talk and work. Yeah, I've got no room where I've done the row with all the other orange bell pepper. So I suddenly thought, let's have an experiment, because I've got enough plants to, to do me in terms of for my harvest. So I don't mind experimenting when I know I've got enough planted elsewhere. Also, in terms of giveaways, I have asked a number of folk and I have given a few of each of these away. So all the plants I've got now are basically either for me or they're spare to the spares, if that makes sense. So what I thought was, if I've got enough compost left, and I might try and grab some of the community compost, even though where I've put it in this hugelkultur, it's really weedy, it's full of weeds, just the little annuals. Yeah, if I can get together enough compost to fill up, I've got another one of these larger grow bags. I thought I might fill it and grow them on in the cold frame. So the cold frame, it's not as warm as a greenhouse. I mean, it pretty much virtually is though, because if I've got all the windows closed in there, boy oh boy, it gets toasty. So yeah, lost my stick. So yeah, I thought they're all outdoor types, but what would happen if I grew them essentially indoors, i.e. in the cold frame? So yeah, if I will put out one last call to my plot buddies to see if anyone would like one of my spares, or all my spares. But if the answer is no, and I've got, 2 or 3 plants left over, what the heck? Give it a go. So basically by the height of, well, not even by the height of summer, within the next few days, the cold frame will be empty of everything except my loofah experiment. So You know what, maybe the loofah would like some company. I'm pretty sure plants sense other plants. So, even though they wouldn't be sharing the same earth, maybe they'd like to share the same space. Yeah, I'll think on that. I'll see if anyone else, I'll basically have an ask around. If no one wants any of my spares, and if I can get together enough compost to fill a bag, that's what I'll do. Yay! Okay, so once I've got these little babies in, obviously I'm going to give everything a right royal soaking, because my goodness, it's especially the containers, they're so dry so quickly. It's nice to have these pots and things here as extra growing space. I'm very grateful for them, but my goodness, they're hard work in terms of keeping them wet. I would far prefer to grow in the open ground where they can go down and find moisture. Anyway, one more of these to go in, then I'm going to go to the top of the garden and plant up the Hurrah. That's my paprika peppers. I won't show you that, become too boring. And then think about tomatoes. Gosh, it really is warm, but there's a gorgeous stiff breeze all the time. Thank goodness. Things seem to take so much longer when it's hot. But like I said earlier, no hurry. Having said that though, 2 hours have flown by, and I whittled on long enough for one video today, so we'll call it a day there. I think it's the perfect time for me to stop and have a spot of lunch, refuel, re-water, and then get back out there for some more planting this afternoon. And I've got my box of Epsom salts out to remind me that is what I'm going to do next. But for that, you'll have to wait for the next video and for me to have my lunch. So, until then, please everyone, take care of yourselves. Make the most of this glorious, gorgeous weather we've got. It's unbelievably gorgeous. Oh, love it. Find yourselves a deck chair, have a snooze, whatever. Just make sure you enjoy yourselves out there. Until next time, bye for now.